Now, welcome you all to... Dear listener, to the Pilgrim's, whatever this is, Pilgrim's Progress bonus material for the Patreon page. I confess, there's not going to be a chapter this week, and I'm going to confess why. I'm struggling with what to do with this giant and have it be maximally, heavy, creepy, like get the real tone of it. And the giant having a wife is tripping me up a little bit because that seems a little corny. And I think I've arrived. I think I'm there, and I think it'll be coming your way next week. In the meantime, here we are, keeping the investors happy.
Yeah.
And I want to just start and get something out of the way right now, and that is we're sitting in my study here at the church, Judson Baptist Church. There's a device over there you've eyeballed a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what it is. I told you about it. I got in front of it. I told you about it before it even arrived.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I wanted to temper your reaction. I knew that your reaction would be vicious.
What was my reaction?
It was actually kind of nonplussed.
Yeah.
Well, the device is... I'm embarrassed to even say. It's a teleprompter.
See, this seems like a you thing, though. I think you're projecting onto me.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And that the teleprompter projects the words up.
Yeah.
I'm a little embarrassed by it because I don't know. I think of like really kind of bad politicians and and that kind of thing. But here's the point. I'm going to start doing some short devotionals, video devotionals, or even maybe just they'll be devotionals on Bunyan's Grace Abounding to the Chief of Sinners. And I was thinking back to the last video I made. Not videos of my preaching, but video of me talking to the person on the other side of the video, which was the Patreon introduction video. Mm-hmm. And I had set a computer up on the pulpit with the basic, not words to read, but the basic outline of what I needed to cover and a few little spots of what I wanted to read specifically. And it was painfully obvious when I looked. I'm like, you won't be able to tell. I'm only looking like 15 inches away from the lens. It was painfully obvious every time I looked over, and it looked very novice. And so I thought, if I'm going to have a little outline, I don't want to be looking down at my lap a bunch. I don't want to be looking off to the side. Yeah. And I found this little device. I don't have to explain myself to you. I don't know why I am.
You brought it up.
I feel like I do. Actually, I have to explain myself to you. Yeah, I do. And so there's the teleprompter. What does it make you feel when you look at it?
It reminds me of like those cameras, like those really old cameras.
Yeah, because it has
it has a little cloth thing.
Cloth on the back, where you put over your head. Yeah.
Kind of all the smoke. I know it's not what it is. I wish it was what it was.
Yeah,
that'd be cooler.
Yeah, that would have a lot of hipster credentials.
Yes.
Yeah. The teleprompter. This is the cheapest one you could get on Amazon, by the way.
Not the second cheapest.
No. Wow. I've really kind of evolved as a Dutchman. I'm going for the cheapest now. Now the second cheapest is usually my go-to for something I don't care much about. And Alex, what was your
Except for airbeds. Except for airbeds.
No, that was the second cheapest. Or was it
the second most expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so with airbeds, you're exactly the opposite.
Well, that was a weird thing because you and I took a trip together when we barely knew each other.
First trip, yeah.
We met once and had a cigar, and then I was like, "Do you want to travel together?" And you were like, "Sure."
Yeah.
And we got on a plane and we went to Chicago, and then we shared a room with someone that you'd never met before in your life, and there were two beds.
Yeah.
So and this is just dumb. I probably financially it makes sense because we stayed for like 4 days.
Yeah.
So I just brought an air mattress in my checked luggage, filled it up.
Yeah.
And I had bought it at I never go to Walmart. Yeah. I never do. And I bought it like the night before, really, really late. Walmart's open really late. And I blew it up, and then I saw you like walking around and dancing on it, and I said, "Hey,
whoa.
Hey, you buddy."
I took a step on it to grab something on the opposite side, and you snapped at me.
Well, there's different ways the tale has been told. I feel like you were.
I don't think I was monkeying around.
You were doing a little. I feel like there was. I don't know. It got very paternal for just a moment.
I think because it was the second most expensive, the Dutch kind of kicked in. You went, "Hey, I barely know you. Don't ruin." Because ostensibly, then you bought that just for me. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's very special to me. I'll cherish that.
I mean, you don't have it. It's in my basement, but
I'll
But
trust the memory.
Now, I had also just thrown away some air mattresses that we had brought here to the church when there was a bunch of power outages and we had a brand new refugee congregation here. If you know anything about our church, we're always opening our doors to other congregations, lots and lots of countries and even lots of continents represented here. But at this point, a lot of people had just moved to the city. It was freezing cold and the power went out from an ice storm.
Yeah.
And so everyone kind of brought all the air mattresses they had, and somehow, probably from kids walking around on them, both of
Kids?
mine had gotten.
I was 23 at the time.
I'm saying in this case,
Okay.
had gotten completely unfixably leaky, and
Yeah.
so we just chucked them. And so I bought a new one.
It's a hard thing.
I don't know how we got on this. Oh, right, the teleprompter.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like our friendship could have gone either way in that moment when I snapped at you and said, "Hey, that was the second most expensive one at Walmart"?
Yeah, it started out interesting, I think, right off the bat, because I never expected to hear from you again. I thought I just won a book. And then you'd follow it up with Facebook,
Yeah.
just saying, hey, was it great? Let's get the families together. I was like, oh, that's just a nice Midwestern thing people do. Oh, we'll get together. No, we won't. I'll never see you again.
It's just because you're such a
And
funny
we start
guy.
traveling
You're a good guy. Yeah, no, I'm
together.
just saying we're traveling. You want a book? We had a smoke. And now we're in another
And now we're in
state.
Chicago.
Yeah.
I woke up in Chicago.
That's how Chicago is.
Yeah. So I think that whole trip was a little jarring.
And I said before that I was going to link to that episode of the Gut Check podcast,
Sure.
but I'm going to actually do it this time. If you want to hear Zach and Mr. Sagacity traveling together early in their friendship,
Yeah.
just click that link below, and there's some good stuff in there. So what I want to talk about today. So are you going to mock? You're not going to mock me. You're not going to mock me at all.
Listen.
Who are you?
Well, there are things I'll mock a guy for, and there are things that I won't. Sorry, that was a ring falling. It wasn't my wedding ring. There are things that I'll mock a
In
guy
case you've
for.
forgotten, when Mr. Sagacity is speaking, imagine a guy with a ring on every finger, monkeying with all of them somehow simultaneously.
On half the fingers.
Half,
Five.
whatever.
Yeah.
How many fingers you got?
Well, I have 10.
You got 10.
How many
all
do
right.
you have?
And you got 5. I've got 10 as well. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The first thing my parents checked when I was born.
Twins. Listen, there are things I'll mock a guy for, but honing his craft, trying to make something better, that's not something I'm ever going to mock you for.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
you're a hardworking guy.
I'd like
Did I
that-
mock you for the thing of sand? No, I didn't.
I
thought it was interesting.
The little Foley box with the shoes
Yeah.
in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I got to redo that now. I had sections of it that were just soil.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had sections that had leaves, and then I had sections that had dirt.
Right.
And at some point, someone in my household, and it might have been me, but I don't think so, moved it, and they all got mixed together. So the idea was if they were, if you're especially, I remember when Christian was walking off the path, he's walking along the path, then off the path toward simple sloth and presumption, and
Yeah.
going from the dirt part to like the leafy part, and then into the grass, and being so pleased with how well it went.
Yeah.
I got to start over with that little box.
See, that's a man in his craft. I'll never make fun of you for that.
No, it's good of you. You're a good fellow.
Yeah.
You want to travel with me? Want to go camping?
Any day. I'll take you camping.
Dude, I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love it with all your knowledge and
Let's
all your
rough it.
experience.
Yeah.
You wouldn't love it because I'm soft, but so what I wanted to talk about in this little episode was R.C. Sproul, because we never get tired of talking about R.C. Sproul, the late
Never.
great R.C. Sproul, Dr.
would?
R.C. Sproul. And you and I have both been for some time, probably for years, both of us faithful listeners of the Ligonier Ministries program, all the material, but especially R.C. Sproul's.
Renewing your mind.
Yeah, with
With R.C. Sproul.
What is that from? Handel's Messiah, right?
Make me feel like I'm in a classroom.
Every time I listen to Handel's Messiah, which I do as Christmas comes up, when it gets to that one, I'm always like, ooh, I perk up, and I'm like, oh wait, Dr. Sproul's not going to talk. Papa Sproul, as some insist on calling him.
Yeah.
But we both really, really appreciate, and that program, I listen to it when it's on the radio, I listen to it on the app. I realized recently that there's actually a podcast feed, so that on the app, if you only listen to half of it and you don't hit the download button, you're sunk the next day. And that's happened to me more than once.
no.
On mine it is.
You go to archives. Man.
Oh, there's an archives on it?
It's under the day. Well,
This is the
we'll
sound
go
of two men conferring with an app It's very good radio.
Well, it's also on. We're both on airplane.
Oh, we're both on airplane. Yeah, never mind.
But,
All right, well, there's
if
an
you go
archive
to-
mode. Okay, well,
That's how
far back does it go?
it just goes and goes and goes and goes.
Oh,
that's how I listen
dude.
to.
See,
the
that's
Night's
dangerous
Map.
for me.
That's how I listened to the Night's Map this morning. Okay.
The thing is with that app, what I was so excited about was it couldn't drag me down into like 9 hours of it because honestly,
It's over.
for me,
Yeah.
there are certain things that my attention span is infinite. And I mean, a lot of them are podcast related.
Sure.
And a lot of them are really good like that, and a lot of them are just dumb. Like, for example, when I discovered We're Alive, which is a zombie thing, which the storytelling is all right. The story itself is all right. The fact that it came out before The Walking Dead show impressed me. It was a zombie apocalypse thing. But I was just like really enamored of this guy's ability to create radio of the mind, radio drama, and
Old skill.
Or theater of the mind, radio drama. Yeah, it's a lost
TV,
art
right?
really that's being rediscovered, and I wanted to see what I could pick up from it, and I'm like, I'll listen to 3-4 episodes of it, and it so locked me in, and the fact that there were just I don't know, like 85 just waiting for me, just sitting there in a podcast feed, like, hey, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, with that kind of thing, like I could see myself with Sproul, like my kid being like, Dad, I haven't seen you in 6 weeks. No, just I only have 42 more years of Sproul's ministry to get through.
You can listen too. Pull them on in.
Well, yeah, so we were talking about it because you texted me that today's Renewing Your Mind. I mean, he keeps putting these out even though he's with the Lord now. I think they might be reruns.
How's he doing it? Yeah.
How's Tupac keep making music? Was great because it was him reading his book, The Night's Map is what it's called. And it's basically a Pilgrim's Progress style allegory.
Yeah.
The production on this
Fantastic.
was really well done. It was minimal on the sound effects, but they were there for transitions or big things, especially like horse sounds and that kind of thing. And then almost the whole time, and he's able to do this because the whole thing is only about 20 minutes long, is kind of this very regal sounding, medieval almost orchestral score. Yeah. It was really, really good, and I didn't realize his voice is so perfect for that kind of narration. Mm-hmm. He could have been doing audiobooks as well, in addition to all this theology if he had time. He
does a reading of John Piper's poem, The Calvinist.
Oh, uh-huh.
And it's fantastic.
John Piper's poems, like Bunyan poems, hit and miss. But that one
the Calvinist
I do
is fantastic.
Yeah.
And he does a reading.
I feel like they got better and better and better, and at a certain point he kind of graduated up to like real poet. Like they got really good, and because he speak of honing your craft.
Right.
But here's an interesting thought. Like, did all the cigarettes make his voice so great?
So perfect.
Tell the story you told me. I don't remember where you heard it, but about Sproul going to preach at like a IFCA church.
Oh, I think it was told at the T4G right after he died. I think it was told at the T4G right after he died, where a group of people that had been in ministry with him and, a bunch of his friends got together and kind of just reminisced about his life. And I believe it was John MacArthur who told a story about the first time that R.C. came to come preach at his church. He showed up late. He gets out of a car disheveled. He's smoking a cigarette. He flicks the cigarette off to the side, enters into the back door, again, late, and asks if anyone there had a Bible.
Yes.
And because, the man never used notes at all to preach. Everything was just in his mind, his renewed mind. So, yeah, I bet it did. Cigarettes kind of make everything better, if we're really, if we're honest.
Until they make everything way worse.
Yeah. It's worth it.
I mean, they killed him
like that.
ultimately. The guy walked around with oxygen tubes for the last. But yeah, that voice was just the graveliness of it. So you and I are part of a men's group here at the church, and we're watching his series on prayer, which so far is very, very good, obviously. And I told you I thought it was peak Sproul. It's after he put on a little bit more weight. Yeah. The hair got like white, poofier, and it was tall, but the pompadour was like a mafia pompadour.
Oh, sure.
It's pre-oxygen, but he's got like this old guy.
Got the mojo. Yeah.
And there's no notes again.
Yeah.
You can see it's almost like as he's saying each line of his teaching, the next one that will follow is fully forming in his mind.
Yeah, what a skill.
It's just incredible. Like one of the and I get a vibe from him, and I know this is maybe me reading into it, but like of an incredibly humble guy who probably didn't realize how unusual that level of talent is.
Yeah, it's Spurgeon-esque.
Yes.
Spurgeon's the same way, or
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
the same way. Just I'm going to take a couple of hours the night before, just alone. I'm going to go formulate everything. I'm going to stand up the next day, and I'm just going to blow people away, convict people of sin, and usher souls into heaven with a message, and that's all.
Well, Spurgeon, most of his finalizing of his sermons happened on the walk from his home to the Metropolitan Tabernacle.
Like,
yeah.
Smoking his cigar, throwing it off to the side.
Now, I don't know that
asking if anyone has a Bible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he ever threw away half a cigar. He would smoke them to the end, from my understanding. Do you know that there's we're all over the map, but do you know that there's actually the cigars that were on his person when he died are preserved, and they're in a museum? If I was an eccentric billionaire, I would own those cigars. Absolutely.
Wow.
That's incredible. But Sproul has, in addition to that picture of him, there's also the pixelated sunglasses moments.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the most famous one is What's Wrong With You People, when he was in a panel on a, what was that at? Like, that probably was a T4G or something.
The Ligonier Conference.
Ligonier Conference? He's with a Baptist and a couple other
the teaching fellows.
people. The teaching fellows of Ligonier Ministries. And they were turning in questions.
Yeah.
And reading questions that had been turned in. And 2 in a row were essentially like, how can you accept that this loving God would send someone to hell or something?
Right.
Was that what it was?
How's it fair because God doesn't show mercy in the garden, right? Because he punishes people. Right.
I'm going to play the clip right here.
Okay.
If God is slow to anger and patient, since God is slow to anger, we're always learning. Since God is slow to anger and patient, then why, when man first sinned, was his wrath and punishment so severe and long-lasting?
Time out. Didn't we just have that question a second ago?
We did.
Yeah,
it's a little,
I think
little,
we
little
did.
nuance.
That God's punishment for Adam was so severe. This creature from the dirt defied the everlasting holy God. After that, God had said, the day that you shall eat of it, you shall surely die. And instead of dying, Thanatos, that day, he lived another day and was clothed in his nakedness by pure grace and had the consequences of a curse applied for quite some time. But the worst curse would come upon the one who seduced him, whose head would be crushed by the seed of the woman. And the punishment was too severe? What's wrong with you people? I'm serious. I mean, this is what's wrong with the Christian church today. We don't know who God is, and we don't know who we are. The question is, why wasn't it infinitely more severe? If we have any understanding of our sin and any understanding of who God is, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the only response, especially if anyone's actually reading the Bible, to not be snarky about it, to not try and win some kind of atheistic points. If you're being honest about it, that is mercy.
Yes.
I'm going to
clothe
you.
Yeah.
Your death is going to come much, much later.
I'm promising redemption in this moment.
Yes.
Yeah. And obviously something happens
you.
in that interim that we're not told, where they now know what animals should be offered. There's this notion of clean and unclean animals, and there's a kind of proto-sacrificial system in place by the
Yeah.
time the flood comes. And so at some point, there was knowledge passed down that there's some kind of
gap
pointing
between-
forward to the cross already, in addition to Genesis 3:15. And so like saying, "What's wrong with you people?" And of course, it's become a meme of great renown. I showed you
Yeah.
a sticker. I tried to buy it for you, and
That's
I couldn't
really,
find
really
it.
great.
It was the little hands that kids do. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open the doors, and it's supposed to be see all the people, and you like wiggle your fingers. It's just R.C. Sproul's face.
What's wrong with you people?
You people? And then there's also
genius.
I have a friend who is an atheist and won't acknowledge the existence of sin. How can I possibly, formulate an argument that will get through to him so he'll understand that sin is real, so that I can start there and bring the gospel? And again, it's all these great minds sitting around,
Yeah.
and he just says, "Steal his wallet."
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then, and then just this cake-eating grin.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Of all the people I wish that I could have met before they died, Billy Graham's up there.
Sure.
R.C. Sproul has probably surpassed him at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh, just a spectacular guy. And I know a lot of people who had a chance to meet him, and I think that's why I assume he really was a genuine,
He's a nice guy.
kind, humble guy, because all the stories are of someone who, doesn't buy into his own hype and just wants to bless people with the knowledge and stuff he has. The Knight's Map is an allegory, a grandfather telling a story to his grandson. And in Inception style, in the story, is another story that is told by, like, a carpenter to a knight. And the story within the story is the fall, which we were just talking about.
Yes.
And so it has to do with people who live in a beautiful park. You just listened to it this morning, so it's probably fresher on your mind. And they were told they can go anywhere in the park except this stone house. And an enemy of the king comes in and tells them, no, there's beautiful things in the stone house.
Well, that God's intentionally keeping from you.
Right, yeah.
The king is intentionally keeping from you. So, like, not just go in there and see, but assigning some kind of malicious intent to the king of the land.
Which
that-
answers perfectly to, you
Exactly
will not
what King
surely
does.
die. God knows that you will become like him, knowing good and evil.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to this, and I just have the thought, like, does this need to be allegorized? My first thought is, like, it got a little more complex in the retelling than maybe it was in the original, where they're in a garden and all this. And why do it? And yet I enjoyed it very much. And it occurred to me, and this is my thought, because this whole endeavor is about an allegory. And then I'm going to hear your thoughts, exhaustive on all of this. But, like, my thought was it didn't need to be allegorized. The whole story didn't need to be understood. But telling something from a new perspective, in a new way, to tell the same truths, might get someone's attention. And if it's the same story they've heard 1,000 times and have kind of been inoculated to it or grown tired of it, or it's just in their mind, it's in the category of little kid stuff or whatever, hitting them with it in a new way, kind of like, did Nathaniel the prophet need to come in and tell this story about the guy who owns the little lamb and all this? Or he could have just come in and said, hey, look what you did. You killed your friend. You stole his wife. You committed adultery. You're awful. Repent. And prophets did that kind of stuff. But instead, he drew him in with it. And I think, in my mind, that's the role of allegory. But what do you think?
I mean, yeah, we could point back to redemptive history and we could see that it's the same concept and story told again and again and again and again, pointing towards Christ, right? Where it's just in different ways with different casts of people and different kind of roles. How many miraculous births are we looking at before we get to Mary, right? I mean, we're looking at Sarah, right?
Manoah's wife.
Right.
Rebecca,
Samson's, right? That's Samson's mother's barren, right? Before
Manoah's wife.
Samuel, right? Samuel's mother, right?
Yeah, Hannah.
And we're looking forward up until we get to miraculous birth. Well, how many miraculous births do we really need? Well, I'm going to keep hitting you with the same concept time and time and time again. I mean, how many times do we need to see the innocent struck down for the uninnocent again and again and again and again and again? Because it helps, and because it makes the pinnacle of all that even more amazing when you say that there are thousands of years of history of the same story being told time and time again, pointing towards one moment. It makes it more special. But I think, especially in fictionalized, one thing with the Stone House that hit me is that my son has asked before why it's. Understanding this is also a kid's book.
You own this book.
I don't own this book. I don't know this book.
Okay.
But it is a children's book,
Uh-huh.
right? Knight's Map is a children's book. We read the biggest story,
Uh-huh.
story Bible every night. And my son has asked before why God didn't want his children to eat fruit. Because
Some question, why do I have to eat
we're
fruit now?
always encouraging him
Right,
to
yeah.
eat fruit. And it's more relatable, I think, maybe sometimes to say there's places you can't go. He knows that he's not allowed in the basement.
Right. There's dangerous places.
They're
that-
not
yeah,
allowed
yeah.
here. So maybe a part of it is saying this is maybe more relatable to a children's experience right now of saying, well, I know I'm not allowed in maybe mom and dad's room, but I'm free to open the fridge and get an apple anytime I want. So a part of it there, but I think that if we can come up with really, really creative ways to accurately and precisely retell the gospel story without losing the gospel story and its narrative.
Yeah.
There's so much fruit to be had there. Tim Keller's wife, right, got saved reading the Chronicles of Narnia. Now you look at that and you go, is it a perfect retelling of the gospel? No. But it's pretty good. And there's plenty there, right, to kind of pull you back to, well, if you enjoyed that story, here's a better story. Here's a bigger story. Here's a story that's true, though. It's the true myth. Right? That's what Tolkien told Lewis, right? Well, isn't this all based on myth? Yes, but this is the true myth. This is the myth that all other myths are based on. And this is the one that actually has real power to save and to affect and to change. So any way we can draw people in by saying, look at this little story over here. Isn't that interesting? Here it's actually laid out. It's of tremendous benefit. And sometimes, just reading it or hearing it in a different way can help. If I've read the gospel 30 times, right, in the last 3 years or something.
Yeah.
Maybe just hearing it in a different way can bring me again to praise and worship and adoration.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And just slip past certain even subconscious defenses you might have against there's certain aspects of biblical truth that we all try to skirt because we still have the flesh and we don't want to deal with all of it. And I think that's the reason Nathaniel brings the allegorical and obviously parables and allegories aren't synonymous. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're related. They're first cousins. And there's got to be a reason Jesus says the reason he speaks in parables is so that people will hear and not understand.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the opposite of what most people assume. They think, oh no, Jesus taught in relatable terms so everyone would understand, even the poor farmers, because he talks about, and in reality he was veiling truth to everyone but those to whom God had opened their eyes and opened their minds to it. But once your eyes are open to it and your hearts are open to it, now it's come in this parable form, this semi-allegorical form, and obviously that has to be a good style of teaching, or Jesus would have veiled it another way. My favorite part of the Knight's Map is the possible cameo. I'm a big guy on cameos and crossovers. And when you read that he bumped into a guy named Pilgrim, were you thinking like this is Christian from
100%?
Me too. Yeah,
100%. Well, and
I love
he
that.
confirms it in the end with the question and answer.
Right. Yeah.
But instantly you go, oh, okay, this is Pilgrim, right? He has all of his possessions on his back, right, and all that. So you get. I mean, it's not perfect, of course, because I don't know. I don't know how many people. I don't know. You know what? Never mind. It is.
We'll say it's
fine.
perfect.
It's fine.
He
can do no wrong.
Are you afraid what he's going to do to you if?
No, I mean, I was just going to say, it's fairly early on in the story that he loses his burden. You know, so. Is that what he sees on his back, or is it maybe just...
Or is the idea that all of his possessions are on him is just emphasizing Jesus' instructions, to bring with you an extra... All these things.
So it's possible. But yeah, there's this man, right, named Pilgrim, who's, right, I can point you to the way. I can point you to the way where you can get your answers that you need to find the pearl of great price. And that's, I think, just at the very center of this, the most beautiful thing there is that, he runs across the skeptic and he runs across all these people that are telling, the idol maker, and these people that are constantly trying to draw him away. And every single time he goes down one of those ways, he almost dies and he runs into peril and he gets bloodied and defeated by the thorns and all that.
Same formula as
exactly
the Pilgrim's Progress.
And then he finally finds Jesus, and then Jesus walks with him to the king. I love that imagery a lot. No. The pearl of great price is not an actual pearl. It's not an actual thing. I'm it.
Yeah.
You're looking at the greatest treasure right here. Now let me take you to the king. That's beautiful. And I love how he had Father, Son, and Holy Spirit there too, because the map maker reveals, well, I drew it all. I'm the Spirit.
Yeah. Just like on the shack when they're all there.
Not quite.
Now, is that allegory?
That's trash. It's something.
Smellegory. So have you seen this book?
I have not seen the book.
Okay, I have seen the book. You know where I saw it?
Where?
That massive bookstore at the last T4G.
Yeah.
Where somehow, in every copy of A Pilgrim's Progress that was sold
How did
there,
that happen?
a little card that said that had a QR code
Now-
leading right to this very podcast wound up just kind of nestled right in there.
Strangely enough, I heard that it wasn't. Yeah. There was a buzz, a low dim around the 12,000 of us that were there. That these cards were also just appearing in packs.
Particularly in backpacks that had like the mesh water bottle thing
just
on the side.
any kind of opening.
But people could confirm they hadn't been within 7 feet of me.
Right.
And
somehow they miraculously.
was that a spiritual gift? The ability to fling. Did I miss more than twice, maybe?
No, you didn't. I mean, here's the thing.
I
though.
can't make a
think
basket to
that-
save my life, dude.
I think that
not natural talent.
Yeah. There's. If that wasn't the spiritual gift, I think getting Will to do it was. That to me solidified in my mind your charisma and your ability.
Rule follower. A bit of a rule follower, Mr. Will. Yeah.
Oh, the biggest.
Yeah.
Not a blight on him.
There is
And
now.
here he is.
Oh.
Yeah. He takes one, and with the biggest smile on his face. He just starts copying you, and I went, wow.
Spreading the word.
This is a man who could get me to do anything. My danger sense for you really increased that day. I went, uh-oh.
It's a good thing that
I got to watch myself.
all my efforts are toward the gospel. And,
Yeah,
and
I gotta
not
watch
toward,
myself. I could-
dangers and stuff.
End up doing something dark.
Now, near the end of that event, a friend of mine, the fourth Dave,
Oh, yeah.
he saw that I had all those, and I was like, I'm getting rid of these one at a time.
What
He
a
goes,
champion this guy
Let me
was.
see a stack. I think I might have already told this story, but he just says, give me those. And he just stands where people are just pouring in
Yeah.
and handing them out like it's part of, like,
Yeah.
the free books and all the other stuff sitting there. Here's some podcast information for you, podcasting. And everyone's taking them saying, thank you very much, looking at them as they
Yeah.
walk in. And I'm like, gosh, why didn't I just do this? But then,
Now, that is a spiritual gift.
but one guy throws his hands up and goes, no thanks, no thanks. And I'm like, what the
that a
world is
COVID
this
thing?
guy? Now, I don't think it was a COVID thing because you don't put. I caught COVID there, by the way.
I know you did.
But then you didn't, which was weird.
Yeah.
I'm all
Well-
I'm like 19 vaccines and
I'm a healthy guy. What can I say?
I don't know. Like people with 0% body fat usually get sick a lot. But anyway, I'm passing out these things, and the one guy doesn't want it, and he had a sense of like righteousness about
Oh,
it. Like I think it
interesting.
had to do with like I don't know, or like I'm too good to take your not officially licensed T4G materials. You know, maybe it was brand loyalty.
to the last time the event would be held.
Maybe he was.
Maybe.
He
Yeah.
was like being aware of the leaven of podcasters or something.
Yeah. Maybe what he knew was that it wasn't an accurate portrayal of the Pilgrim Progress.
A little teaser to the next bonus episode.
Maybe that's what he knew deep
He's
down.
like, this is not a faithful
This is not a
adaptation."
faithful adaptation.
Or maybe he already had
And
two of them in his
some
pockets and
dweeb-
his, Backpack.
Some dweeb on Facebook that runs my life said that.
some dweeb.
Yeah.
No, but do you think maybe that was like the third one someone tried to give him? Because like just in a crush here and there, he'd been going through his backpack the night before and he was like, why are there 4 of these cards in here?
I like to think that what happened is that, it started out with one card, and then every time he touched it, like Igolf's ring or whatever, it just
multiplied?
It just multiplied. So, he touches it, puts it on a nightstand, and then he wakes up and there's 2. And he takes them, he throws them away, and then he gets out of the shower and the wastebasket's full.
It's like
And then-
Dwight and those beans.
Exactly. And then he comes back and he can't even open the door to his,
So-
his
I wish that was the case. Give them to me now. Now, I want to
Yeah.
also tell people something that I almost did, that we almost did. You were in on it.
Well-
you were down for it.
I might have been there. Is that what you're confusing it with?
No. I said to you before.
was in the proximity.
Before we went to a church denominational event that
Okay.
had an exhibit hall.
Yes. Okay.
I said
I was
to
for
you,
this.
I'm thinking about paying. It was only like $30. It was like a nominal fee to have a table in the exhibit hall, and printing up some materials. I was going to take that little computer tablet and have a couple of pairs of headphones and have it running like the trailer and maybe bits of episodes and a backdrop. And it was going to be like a test run for, can we do like a little high-end silver thing as we add a couple more products and things at a event in an exhibit hall. And then I just decided not to. And I still brought the stack of cards. And I didn't even hand any of those out.
Forgot the stack of cards.
I forgot the stack of cards
Forgot
both
the
days?
stack of cards both days. Because we got there 2 hours early the first day, and we kind of looked around and we said, wow, one, fantastic decision to not.
Right, yeah.
Wrong crowd. Wrong crowd of people.
Wrong crowd. Yeah, we would have been sandwiched between... Although if it would have been over by that guy who did the seminary overseas kind of thing. The William Carey thing.
Yeah, dude,
that would have
Carey.
been cool. Yeah, that
That
was
guy
great.
was awesome.
Yeah, that was an amazing ministry.
Yeah, wrong crowd. And then you said, well, I at least could have brought the cards, but I forgot them.
No, that's a bummer. I didn't remember that. I thought that I had chickened out, but
I
I should have
mean-
known better.
You don't check it on anything.
One more thing I wanted to talk about with the Knights map. And by the way,
Let's talk.
Here's the little intro to the Knights map that they play. But before they come in with I thought you were going to start doing the voice. Oh, all right. I thought you were going to start doing the sultry voice that comes in.
You're
Well,
listening to Renewing Your Mind.
there, that's the
Right.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before that, they always play like a little clip, and so I'm going to play the little clip here.
Suddenly, without warning, the road ended in a cliff. If his trusty horse had taken even one more step, they would have plunged to their deaths.
And I'm going to link to the whole episode here in the.
Do yourself a favor. Listen to it.
Just listen to it. Yeah, click over to it, listen to it, and then get the Ligonier app. And he's Presbyterian. We're
Binge.
Baptist. I can't imagine being more blessed by anybody and their preaching and teaching. And you know what? That also brings up kind of a very Bunyan-esque thing. The Big Tent Baptist view of the church, which is, I'm not going to let even important things like the proper subjects of baptism separate me, make me break communion from a brother who believes in salvation by grace through faith, being saved by the blood of Jesus. I'm not going to do that. And so I think that it's a very Bunyan-y thing we're doing here, championing a Presbyterian on our Baptist podcast.
I mean, he wasn't a Presbyterian, but I mean, Bunyan and Owen certainly had a starstruck friendship.
Starstruck? Which one was it? They were both starstruck with the other?
Yeah, I think so. Because of here, or not hearing how they talked about each other, but reading how they talked to each other, or about each other. Both highly valued what the other one was able to do.
Such very different styles, too.
Well, that's, yeah.
And you read of the mortification of the flesh, and you go, all right, I got to read every paragraph twice just to make sure that nothing snuck past me.
Yeah.
And then you read Bunyan, and you're like, oh, my kid should read this. And yet they both are vehicles of just this really
magnify Christ.
Amazing truth. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So we're also emulating Bunyan.
Yeah.
As he emulates Christ. There
Look
it
at
is.
that.
But the book that I started to say that I had seen the book, the illustrations are amazing. It's a great book. Get it for your kids. I don't know if it's still in print. I imagine it is. But at the same time, I had the question in my mind, would I rather read the book and see that great art?
Yeah.
Or listen to the book and get kind of drawn in and the pictures be in my mind? And I realized it's no contest. For me, I am going to take the kind of radio theater any day, the enhanced audiobook style. One narrator and, or a full cast, the kind of dramatic read. Audible has been really upping their game lately for subscribers like myself with a lot of kind of, Aaron Paul did one, and what's the name of the girl who did Jane? Kristen Ritter. And then there was one with John Hamm, which wasn't very good. And then there was another one recently that had Zach Morris in it. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Zach Morris. But these kind of, you can put on your headphones and you can go separate laundry and organize, the screws in the little drawers in your workshop at home while you're listening to something.
Yeah.
And then when you remember back, it's like you saw it. This happened recently with me. What was it? Oh, right. It was again from We're Alive. It was.
We were talking about it as though it was a show.
I was like, what was that movie where the
What's
person
that movie? And then this happens, and this happens, and then you were even trying to find actors.
Yeah, I'm on
You're like-
IMDb, and I'm like, who was in that?
And it was Now it's a podcast, my man.
And it was a podcast, yeah.
None of that ever existed. It's just your mind.
Yeah.
You have a powerful mind, though, man. Looking at your head, that's it.
To me, that's, and I love that there's a boom of that.
Right.
To me, and you can drive. You don't have to just sit there. And this is good news for you because you don't like to sit there
No.
and not move around and not do anything. And yet there are ways to get not only the great teaching and preaching, but also some of these great stories that convey great truth and then just good entertainment all the while. I'm hoping that I'm getting better as we go. But my goal is not to get better enough that when you listen to the first episode of The Pilgrim's Progress, it sounds like trash compared to the
interesting.
rest. I already went back once and punched it up a little bit. In the original drop of that first episode, the Foley of the footsteps going down into the valley at the very beginning, kind of the cold open, flash forward to the confrontation with Apollyon, were just really crappy sounding, me in my backyard and trying to like filter out, the traffic noise and everything. It was really kind of empty sounding. And later I like layered in a bunch of stuff and made it sound a lot more arduous. And so, I don't know. I'm hoping that this continues to also be an upswell of popularity of this kind of thing so that our project here doesn't become a flash in the pan. We're hoping to continue with part 2 of The Pilgrim's Progress. Maybe the Holy War.
Maybe in part 3.
Part 3. I think part 3
Mixed in with 2.
Just
Mixed
gets
with
yeah.
two.
Did you read it yet?
I haven't read it yet. I've
Read
only
it
intended.
and tell me what. I mean, there are some things in it like when he gets to.
A little scandalous.
They're just a little bit like unnecessary. I would
yeah.
say. And it was somebody just thinking, me too. I can do it.
Yeah.
And part 3, by the way. You can find this online, a facsimile of it. The reason for so long people thought that there was a part 3 is because someone was very disingenuous. They put on the front page, it was exactly the same layout of the text and everything. Third part, just like it said part 2 on the second one. And then it said underneath, and a life of, real small, John Bunyan, real big, author of the first and second parts. So you look at it, and they put that John Bunyan right where John Bunyan as author was on the first and second one. Yeah, so you look at it, and if you're not like, trying to figure out, we've all been there when you tell your parents you want like a Disney movie and they get you like the off-brand when you're a kid. The Little Mermaid by, some weird Chinese version of it or something. Or I don't know. I know you were really into the Little Mermaid as a child.
I'm not into it at all. I don't interact with Disney in any way, shape, or form. Not as a child, not as an adult.
Wow, all right. Well, you seem a little bit defensive, but maybe you're protesting too much. I think that'll do it today. I'm going to leave you off balance.
Yeah.
And
I've never been accused of...
Now, here's a question. We've just did all that. Is that the one we want to put in the main feed, or is that just for patrons?
Let's see how the next one goes.
All right.
Yes.
In the meantime...
Love you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, and stay on the narrow road.
High and Silver.
Gut